Good morning, John. We're here at a new location for the Bingham boys, one that is important, particularly to me. We're at the Green Front Bar up in Highland Boy, just a fool's gold throw away from the Highland Boy Community House.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably one of the higher elevation bars in Utah at one time. I don't know what the true. It's got to be over 7,000 feet up there, probably.
Yeah, I think
6190. It was quite a bit above there.
Oh yeah, I mean we're talking way above that. So L Bridge and J Bridge, which were in Highland Boy.
There might be some rivals in Park City, but it was up in the canyon. I mean, people don't, when we said 6190, that doesn't mean anything other than people who knew back then the mine itself was in rings of layers of track,
right?
And every 50 feet there was another
level.
So 6190 was the main one everybody knows about, and then every 50 feet up. But it was up there.
Yeah,
Upper Highland Boy.
Highland Boy was high, and people got high at my aunt's bar too.
That was a relative of yours had that.
Yeah,
your aunt.
My mother's mother's sister, Pina Rotini. She had, I think, 3 husbands. Azalea when she was there, but
the milkman.
The milkman is your son, yeah.
Tudo.
Tudo, yeah. It's funny when we say that, just to start off. So when I always knew him as Tudo.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Arturo.
Arturo.
Yeah, but it didn't ring with me. I think I've said this before. It's where my Aunt Louise, my mother's sister, her husband had an uncle named Jim. And they'd always refer to Barba Jim, okay? Barba Jim. Well, it's Barba, okay? But it was pronounced Barba. That's how I heard it.
I know that
and
word
so
from...
I listened to that all these years, and it was only when I started studying Italian that I realized what it really was.
Well, what it really is in Greek, Barba Jim is a brand of ouzo from the island of Lesbos.
Really?
So there you go. Yeah.
Okay, well that's
good ouzo. The Green Front. I don't know. It must have closed in the 50s or something. I don't know.
Well, it was still open. It was still open after we moved to the valley for a while, and because I remember we would go up to Bingham, and my mother would go to see her aunt, and their house was right behind the bar, and there was apartments above the bar. And we've talked about one of the real great people that lived there, Milka Smilanich, and her son, who was the great writer for Associated Press, but. That is something that is really definitely in my mind. It wasn't far from Highland Boy Community House or on the other side, the Highland Boy grade school where I started school. And I have really fond memories, but it's interesting when you think of where we are today with all of the improvements that have taken place. To what would be the south of it, ran the sewer that was an open sewer that started right below our house in Highland Boy and ran down the valley. And
it ran through lead mine.
Yeah, total open sewer.
Yeah, nobody got sick. We played it all the time. How stupid was that? But the Green Front, it was still there as a building when I was young. Because we'd ride our bikes up to what was then the observation point or take as high up as we could.
Which was below it.
Yeah, but that side of the mine, the whole west side, was owned by Anaconda.
Yeah.
So it wasn't being mined out like the rest of the pit. Eventually it was taken on by Kennecott and now Rio Tinto, and it's whatever. But there was one employee left there from Anaconda. He was the guard. Mm-hmm. It was Mr. Shields. And he had some sons and daughters who went to Bingham High School. Johnny Shields was 2 years older than me. And they lived there. They were the last residents of Highland Boy. They were there to the very end. I mean, way up there, all by themselves in their house. And I remember it sort of, not an estate home, but it wasn't some ramshackle shack at all either. And it was above and somehow above the Green Front in some direction. But
it would have been to the east and up, I think... I can't remember their house for sure. I wouldn't want to say that.
It had porch, banisters, and all kind. It looked way into the pit. It was a great.
There were some of those houses were good. I mean, they began as shacks, which our house did.
This wasn't a shack. This wasn't because it was a company house.
So
they had a horse. Nobody had a horse in Bingham. I mean, he had a horse up there.
No, that's funny because I mean, you kept going up that road and then you ran into the mine as it came around for the dumps, the West Side dumps. and that was called the Boston Com, the Boston Consolidated. That was owned that before Kennecott and Anaconda bought them. But it was a great time, and it's good to be here. I, unlike you, do not want to go use the restroom in that place because you talked about the smell
in the moonlight. I'm sure it was the same.
The smell there was enough.
Miner's piss is probably uniform smell, right?
I don't know. I guess it was because they were drinking copper water. But anyway, I have good memories of that. Really good memories.
So you know, okay, from the green front, it's by the Highland Boy House. Is that what it was called?
The Highland Boy Community House. Above it, yeah.
And that now, of course, the people in Bingham knew Ada Duhigg and what that represented. I believe she was Methodist.
She was Methodist deaconess. Her and Miss Mildred May from Kentucky, who was.
She was an angel up there, and it moved to middle of Bingham at one point, and then dissolved out. But the Methodist Church now is kind of central to what you got coming up.
Yeah, I mean, we have my brother's run. We talked about it last week a little bit, and run that honors him and Jerry Ennis and Jeff Jensen. Now we give you get a T-shirt if you come. You can go on the website if you put in, I think, Nick Yengich or Yengich Ennis Jensen 5K. Starts at 11 o'clock on Saturday, December 6th. It's rain or shine, and we do it. It's 5K. You can walk or run it. It starts at Copperton Park on the south side of the park, near the Methodist Church. And the LDS Church is still there as well, and the Lions Club is there. And so there will be water and coffee and donuts at the starting line for people who get there a little bit early to BS a little bit. And also afterwards and during the run, St. Paul's Methodist Church, which is what is really left of the Highland Boy Community House, and that's why we're doing this today, is they have their bazaar. And so they have a chili cook-off, and you can buy some stuff that the people there at that little church make, and we are able then to help the community, which is really the vestige of the Highland Boy Community House. And the people in that little Methodist community are wonderful people, and you'll have fun and you'll get a kick out of it. So come up, give the money to the Veterans Court, homeless vets, and to our three major recipients of the money that we get are also the Police Officers Memorial at the Salt Lake Capitol for fallen police officers. And so it's a good time, and we have fun, and come on up and join us. And I say rain or snow or sleet or hail, we will be there.
Well, just do one thing. What was the time again? Start of the race?
11 o'clock is when we start the race. We will all be up there setting up, starting about 8:30, 9 o'clock. But come around 10, and if you can, or wherever you want to, you can register for the race on the day of the race. And again, we give a long sleeves T-shirt with who we're giving the money to and the race logo on it, and in a sense, they're collector's item. This is the 42nd edition of it.
Okay, so on that vein, let me just read a little thing, if you don't mind. It was sent to me this morning by a really good man. I won't identify by name. He'll recognize this as soon as he hears this. He's one of my good friends. I think of him as more than an angel. Mm-hmm. And he's just a fantastic human being, wonderful businessman, greatly successful here in Utah. And we stay in contact quite often. He's not in the country right now, but we exchange emails and so on. Politically, we are not on the same page all the time. I really can't say that for sure because I know I'm not a MAGA, and I don't know that he is. But he's far more defensive of some of the things that Trump behaves as than I am. And I don't think it comes from a point of, and I'm just saying this speculatively, point of defending Trump so much is just his nature, and here's his nature. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you this. And so he sends this to me today, and his staff also gets the same thing. So here's part of what he sent today. He said, "So I challenge you today to make it a Giving Tuesday. Give, be kind, be courteous, be generous, and if nothing else, go out of your way and say hi and smile at a person you may not have met or just someone that may need a special acknowledgement. And remember these," in quotes, "a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." I'm going to go with that's biblical. Don't know. "The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that waters shall be watered also himself. That's quite certainly biblical. So today, be generous. Choose to be generous. Whether it's with your time, money, or words, you can bring refreshment to someone who needs it. You don't have to be rich to be generous. You just need a heart that is willing to serve. So today, instead of scarcity mindset, let's have a mindset of abundance. Our God has unlimited strength, power, and resources. So in the vein of your race, may people follow these words and be generous starting today through your race, and be as generous as you are, Ron, with your time and efforts to help people, and encourage other people to do the same as this good man has done for all of us today.
No, thank you. And those are great words. And it sounds very much like one of the translations of the Psalms. I mean, it really is beautiful. And also of the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. Those of us who profess to be Christians, it's not just an option, it is the only option to do that. And so even today, as we look at what we're going to talk about, and we are going to talk about Donald Trump and what's going on politically in the world today, we'll try to do it with a little bit of humor, and in doing it with a little bit of humor, maybe temper our own frustration and fears that we bring to this. And so today, John, we're going to do the first version of what we will call sí or no. Sí or no.
Is that Italian or is that Spanish?
That is both Italian and Spanish.
Oh, wow.
And it is also, we could say da or no, which would be Croatian. And or we could say oui or
no in French.
Oui or non.
No.
Okay. No. And what is it in Greek?
No is ochi.
Okay.
That's the pronounced way of saying no in Greek.
So what's
ochi.
What's yes or no?
Well, yes in the informal way is ne.
Okay.
Ne, ochi, and there's a formal word for yes, which is malista. Do you have your homework? Malista? Well, no.
Okay.
There's a different way to use it. It's a more formal way to use it.
Okay.
You can use it way.
Okay.
But most people, ne or ochi.
So we'll start today's quiz, and I'm going to be, can't think of any of the old game show hosts.
Wink Martindale.
I'll be Wink Martindale, one of the most famous ones. And we'll start with the questions today. These are from the news. And our first question of the day is this.
Are you asking the audience or are you asking me?
I'm asking them to think about it, but I'm asking you to answer it.
All right.
Did Marjorie Taylor Greene imply that Donald Trump may be a compromised dupe of foreign governments?
Malista.
Okay.
We use it affirmatively. Yes, she did. That's just not a ne. That's a yeah. She went for it.
Okay. What did she say, or what was the?
Well, I don't know her exact. I mean, there have been so many. They've just been coming at a flurry, all these crazy tweets in this past 2 weeks and so on. But Marjorie is, is she playing a game and playing the longer game here, looking for a presidential run of some theory and whatever? Or is she just truly a woman scorned, or is she found a conscience? Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, she was quite affirmative in saying, this is not America first to behave this way. That's part of it. And the other part of it is, I stand up for women. And I don't, and she said, I think she used the word fascist. This is not fascism or something like that. We don't support that. Is that kind of in the vein of what she said?
I think so. I think she also kind of implied that Donald Trump has, she didn't say the word allegiance, that he has other people out of the country that he's more worried about than he is those here.
Yeah.
And she may well have been referring to his friends in Argentina and the former president of Honduras, who he just pardoned as well, who was convicted in a major drug trafficking scheme, which is something that's going to explode even further as things are now being looked into that, and legal communities, the ones that have guts around the community, are pushing back on that particular part, and we can deal with that another time. But speaking,
so she's a yes.
She's a yes. So, is it true or false that Donald Trump and or his Twitter, X, or Truth Social handlers have not been getting much sleep lately?
I woke this morning to the headlines on. I have a go-to every day to find my versions of the news. I don't subscribe to the Times or the Post or any of those places, but I maybe occasionally will buy an article or whatever. But I go to the aggregate sites, and usually the top two are Drudge and HuffPost. And both of those are like 150. He's at 150 and he's still tweeting, or whatever. That was the major news story of the morning to wake up to it. And he'd been tweeting for hours, he and or his handlers, right? So, and it's well known now that there's at least one person that hangs out at his side and tweets for him. And people who read his tweets can usually tell if it was written by him, because it's going to have misspelled words like kerfuffle, or what was
kerfuffle?
It? Well, no, it wasn't kerfuffle. There was some stupid word he didn't get right. Or all caps, those kinds of things. Then there's other ones that actually use intelligent, like college-educated words, which is a guy that didn't finish college. He paid people to take his tests in college. So it's not him that wrote those. And then there's the truly anger ones that it could be him, and it also could be Stephen Miller. So who knows who's crafting his tweets, but they were at 160 last night. And I think at this point, I do want to acknowledge one thing about Trump. I made a pledge that I would say something good about Donald Trump today, and I'm going to give it to you. And then we'll go on, okay?
We've been asked to do that. And
we've been asked before. So
okay, so you can ask me this question.
Okay.
Because since you're going to say something good about him.
Well, I am. Do you?
Put it in the form of a question.
Okay. What is it? I can't put it in the form of a yes and no question. I'm sorry. Let me just try to do this. I'm not good at what you do, Ron. You made a career of thinking on your feet, and I'm sitting on my ass, and I can't think that fast. So what we all you normally do to go to sleep at night is we count sheep, or we were taught to count sheep. Right. What's the highest number you ever got to, and you fell asleep?
I never did that.
So here's a way to. Okay, well, I did.
My dad. May told me to count sheep, and I was counting baseballs.
Okay, you counted something. You're preoccupied. Well, now thanks to our president, we can read tweets or count tweets, and when he gets to a certain number, you should be asleep by then. The next morning you wake up and you say, Bill, what was your count? He'll say 47. He fell asleep. He doesn't remember 62. And you'll say 75, and somebody wins every day. He's bringing some joy and happiness to the United States populace by just tweeting and giving us something to do that's humorous, that's passing the time, that we can be on the same page as the guy. I sent it out to a couple of people. Somebody captured all of them and put it into like a video form. And it scrolls, and it's like for 5 minutes scroll all these stupid tweets, So anyway, thank you, Donald. I don't have to count sheep anymore. You're a good man. You found a way to keep an insomniac like myself preoccupied. I appreciate it.
And so you're living with the idea of your friend, because you're putting sunshine on darkness. They're good for you, John.
It may be only needles worth through the eye of a needle, but it's sunshine. Yes, I'm really struggling, but I'm doing that. I'm serious. I'm thankful. I need a distraction. That
is a great thing. By the way, we don't want to forget, we both have many from Japan. Worked with a lot of them. And Saturday is the 6th. Sunday's December 7th. We're going to be up to run, and they have the memorial to the people in the United States who fought in World War II and other wars. But you wanted to mention December 7th, and I think it's fair, and there are a couple of reasons to do so. We'll get out of the game show right now and go to that. What do you have to say about that, John?
Two things. My family, my mother's side, didn't really find a lot of joy. Nobody found joy in the day. But on December 7th, 1941, which was Pearl Harbor Day, is also the day my Uncle Donald was shot by his next-door neighbor. Accidental kid shooting. He was like 12 at the time. But it put a bullet through him. So December 7th is the day they remembered as my uncle being shot.
Yeah.
He survived. He worked on Kennecott as a great dozerman. But at the age of 12, he was shot. So my mother's December 7th was always about that. My dad, just like your father and others, was the day that they walked into the enlistment lines.
Right.
And so it's the day that shall live in infamy, right, according to FDR, in one of the more powerful speeches from the presidency ever, a counterpoint to anything that happened last night, where there were erudite, thoughtful, empathetic, powerful statements in FDR on that day.
Yeah, on the day after.
84 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we get like, Hillary's crazy. And that's going to be the quote at the end of a statue of the current guy. So anyway, December 7th, it's also the day one of the other remaining Midville boys was killed on December 7th, Tommy Gonzalez. This is the day he died in Vietnam. Remember the three Bingham boys from Midville that moved to Midville? The story. This is the date. And he only had like a month to go. He'd sent letters home like, I'm ready to come home. And he was shot and died leading his men and so on. And so it's a day that I knew the Gonzalez family quite well. Doogie was his brother. So December 7th, we think of and respect that day forever.
We do, and it's my dad's story was that he was walking up, and I think he was under Jay Bridge when the news was relayed to him about the bombing in Pearl Harbor. He was working on the Hill at that time. I think he had just graduated. And he then went in and enlisted, not that very day, but right after he told his mother that he was going. His father had just recently died. His dad had died on May 11th, 1941. And so he went in. My Uncle Johnny enlisted from their family. My Uncle Marco, because my Uncle Tom, the oldest son, had his own family. My Uncle Marco basically quit school and went back, and he took over the reins of the family with my grandma to take care of all the kids. But that was a different era. It also leads us to something that we've got to say and we've got to talk about, and that is, I admire FDR. I think he was a great president. But the one thing that he did do that stains his record is what we're doing now. We put Japanese people, loyal Americans, we took their property. We stole their property as a country under a order of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and moved them out of coastal cities because of just of who they were, not about their loyalty. And many of those men, many of the men at Kennecott that were Japanese, because there was a large contingent of Japanese people up in Bingham Canyon and other places like Ray Uno, Judge Uno, who just passed away recently, and others ended up in concentration camps in Utah. And as I read about that as a kid, and as I studied Korematsu versus United States, the case that allowed it from the Supreme Court at that time, I looked back on it and said that would never happen again. Nothing like that would ever happen again in this country until we've got the Roberts Court. We've got to worry about that, and we've got to pray that they stop just arresting people because of who they are, not what they've done, but because of who they are. One other segue in that is, John, does the Coast Guard of the United States of America, that's who my dad served with during World War II, are they still saying that it's okay to have swastikas and lynch?
Confederate flag. And
the Confederate flag or those type of things. Are they acceptable for sailors to have or Coast Guard people to have with them and display them as members of the Coast Guard? See or no?
Well, Well, in answer to your question, the long way, the Coast Guard came to its senses and said, bullshit. So good, because we need to make America remember again. That is just a horrific idea that came from, apparently, the Defense Department or the War Department, according to Hegseth, to remove, to allow them to be they were already removed, to allow them to be hung again. It's just ridiculous.
Nooses is what I was seeking. Yeah, my dad would be appalled. I mean, my dad was a proud Coast Guardsman, and he would, and others, I believe, and even those that are serving now, undoubtedly were appalled that we allowed that for no reason other than someone put that bug in Hegseth's ear or somebody else's, and they decided it would be a good idea. Because after all, you understand,
I think
the
there's
liberals,
more than a bug at Hegseth.
Liberals, there's a bug somewhere else. Liberals have made it so easy for everything to be good for them and to take away our rights and freedoms. So a noose or a swastika is a good idea. I think the answer to that is BS.
Yeah, it is BS. What can you say? I mean, we spent our whole life, from even what seemingly innocuous fun movies like The Sound of Music when you're a kid, and the Austrian, and the protagonist in it takes the Nazi flag and rips it up.
Yeah.
Not in my country. And you grow up and you're young and you're just singing along in the Alps, but really it's an anti-German movie.
It's not anti-German. It's an anti-fascist
exactly.
movie.
So, and now we forget this stuff, and people who are now generations removed, not like you and I with our fathers there. I told you before, I had a cousin that didn't make it home from World War II. This stuff is not forgettable. You can't forget this stuff. Why would you bring it back? What's going on? Now remember, this is a guy that was totally unqualified to get the position, that has the position. He was a Fox commentator, 3/4.
You're talking about Hegseth?
Hegseth, yes. Yeah. He's got dubious tattoos on him. I don't measure a person by what they wear or whatever, but you know what? He does wear the symbolism. So he is what he is.
No, he is.
He's quite obviously thinking he's empowered now to be the
But that brings us up to another question.
Sure. Oh, is this an oh here or a nah? Or
This is a yes or no,
Okay.
and that is, all right, is Donald or are Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth being honest when they claim that their attack on boats off of the Venezuelan coast were not ordered by them? The attacks are not ordered by them, and the shots to kill clearly living people on their boats were not ordered by them. True or false?
They're covering their ass.
Okay, that's not an answer. So, Bill, we've got to get a buzzer here. Okay. So the answer is it may be the correct answer, but it's not yes or
Okay,
no.
ask me in the form of a yes or no. Like make it real.
Okay,
so like
I
this
just
dumb
did.
factory-
All right, were Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth telling the truth when their last answer was they were not responsible for giving the order to kill those people?
So regarding Trump, he's done this entire life. His entire life is coded with letting somebody else take the fall for him. And he credits himself with something that somebody else did that was good. That is his entire resume, front and center. And he does it fabulously. So when he is saying no, he's already figured out, the one time I'll give him credit for like three-dimensional chess is when he wants to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And he's already figured out how to put this off onto General, I think his last name's Bradley, Admiral Bradley in the Navy, or to Hegseth or to somebody else. He's way ahead of these people. Hegseth is just an idiot. He is absolutely unqualified. The worst soldier, the sad, sackiest soldier that you ever knew, and I'm speaking as non-military, would hold power over this guy in the right circumstances. But he's a cosplay and throwing pictures of turtles out there when people are getting killed at sea and bragging about it.
And we don't even know that they were drug dealers.
We don't know whether they were drug dealers. We don't know where they were going. They were, that particular craft would have to refuel like 20 or 30 times to get to the southern tip of Florida. Why don't you just go after the gasoline tanker out in the middle of the ocean and knock it out so they can't get here? I mean, that would be pretty simple, too. I don't even know how far off the coast of Venezuela they are. Rand Paul, staunch Republican, he's been pretty much of a good citizen on this stuff, saying, no, this is wrong. We do not do this. He's anti-war on it, this goes through Congress. Rand Paul said, that's murder. Lots of people are. And I don't think that it's uncomely to use the word murder, because that's what it was.
No, it isn't, and we'll go to a bonus question on this that I just came up with it.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about earlier, and that is the President of the United States the one that the Constitution gives the power to declare war?
No.
Okay, who is it?
It's Congress.
Okay, and how long has that been part of the Constitution? I'm going to help you here from the beginning.
Yeah, that's Washington knew that.
Yeah.
Washington, when he had the chance to stand up, when people were even asking him to just take over the reins and make this an autocratic country, a monarchy, whatever, he said no. That's why we left Europe. That's why we came here. And I don't want that power. And we set up the system of balances that are now completely out of balance. So the checks and balances of our democratic system are just, the rails are gone.
And for those of you who doubt it, it's Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution.
Nope.
It's right in the beginning. You don't have to look far if you think that it is the president's right to declare war, which is what they were doing.
When did we loophole through this? You know some examples of that.
Oh, we've loopholed it forever. I mean, it isn't just Trump. Democratic and Republican presidents post-Korean War, and particularly we'll go back to the war of our youth, the Vietnam War. They were wars that were not authorized by Congress initially. Sometimes Congress has come by and then in a sense retroactively authorized them. But the Grenada War and the war in Panama and all of those were even to a degree, the war in Iraq, were all done by presidents that got there first, and then Congress may or may not have authorized them and funded them. But But the president doesn't have the right to declare war without the approval of a joint session of Congress. That speech that you talked about by Roosevelt was given to a joint session of Congress where they sat together, the Senate and the House sat together, and the president asked them for a declaration of war against Japan. We have let those reins go. And here's what, from a historian and a lawyer's perspective, pisses me off. There have been a lot of things written by that. I've mentioned this book before, Chain the Dogs of War by Ed Firmage, my old professor at the University of Utah, God rest his soul. The Republicans were the big ones about that. They've been on this forever. They've been on that we've got to not go to war. The neocons and the Tea Party and all of them have been on this, and it's a fair mantra. Can't go to war unless Congress authorizes it, and Congress is the one that should stop any of these things until it's authorized because they have the power of the purse. To see them just rolling over and playing dead for Hegseth to kill whoever he wants on the high seas is a joke.
Let me, just on that point, number one, I haven't heard a word from Mike Lee on this at all.
Well,
zero.
Yeah.
And he is... Right? So stopping with that, let's let that sleeping dog lie for a second. What is often retorted to that, and the president's press secretary is really good at this, doing the false debate query. So what they say is, so you support having drugs come into America. So you don't care if Americans die because they overdose on drugs. That's what they say to the American public. What do you say in answer? You are not, by saying you don't want this to be a war, and somebody else is saying, but it's not a war, but you're supporting, therefore you're supporting drugs coming into America.
No, I'm not. I'm supporting the rule of law that says you just don't get to kill anybody without having them be charged with the crime, brought before a tribunal of justice, and then having a determination whether they're right or wrong. I spent my whole life believing in that and will never give up on that. That's due process. By the way, it's in the Constitution too. And you want to declare a war on Venezuela, which isn't a drug, I'm sure they do have drugs in it, isn't a marketing place. You want to declare war on them, then declare war.
Right.
That's the point. The point is there's a process by which you do it. And so, no, it's the old argument that you're wrong because something else is going on, and we've decided to use
it's
it.
Biden, blame Clinton, blame everything, and blame you for not being as patriotic as me in this sense.
Well,
and you don't care. And even Rand Paul said, hey, there's not an ounce of fentanyl produced in Venezuela.
Well, of course not. You know where the fentanyl is produced? China. And the chemicals that go into making fentanyl. But Donald Trump is friends with the president of China. Why doesn't he call him and say, look, MFer, stop it from coming to your borders into our country. Stop it now.
Well, that ain't going to happen.
Well, but the point is this, because now you've got me a little bit exercised. So yeah, I am un-American because I want you to make certain that the people that you convict and are put to prison, they get a right to a trial under our Constitution. And if they violated our rights from an area where we can have them sent here and we can try them, that's how it should be. But let me give you one other point. He gave a pardon to the president of Honduras, who was involved in the major cartels distributing cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. And he just pardoned him. So here's my next question for you, right on the heels of that.
Yeah.
Okay? True or false? Donald Trump is giving all that money to Argentina, as he's claimed he's going to do.
I think it went
$40 billion, it could be whatever. Nothing is ever.
It was 20 plus and added up. Match your bet and put another 20.
Is he giving that money to Argentina because, and this is a multiple choice question, A, because he thinks that he's going to have some place to go, like all fascists did after World War II, and Argentina is a good place to go like they did? Or B, that he believes that Madonna is still there after the movie about Perón, about Eva Perón.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Yeah, which one? Or none of the above?
I think I don't think that if he flees, he won't go to Argentina.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't think it's that one. I'm not certain that Madonna falls in his graces as an entertainer.
No,
maybe.
but she looks like a young Ivanka.
Yeah,
She did.
Yeah, but I think that he finds other people that are not as smart as Madonna to fall back on. And Madonna's too old for him now.
But he thinks
He likes younger
Madonna
women.
is Eva Peron.
He may. I think if something like what you're speculating happens, he'll go to Qatar or somewhere in the Middle East because he's got properties there.
Which, by the way, recent reportage has indicated that the drug lords out of Great Britain have all moved to Qatar, and that is where they're running their operations. So it would be perfect for him.
Future historians will look back on this as like how the drug dealers conquered the world.
So I guess
I was going to ask you though about one particular date. Do you remember August 3rd, 1964?
Well, that's unfair. I don't know. Let's see. 64, I would have been 14. No, I don't get much past.
The USS Maddox ring a bell?
Oh, okay. It
What
does.
happened?
Is that 73 men sailed up?
No. The USS Maddox was approached some fishing boats in the Gulf of Tonkin.
Oh, okay.
They were fired upon, and they found one bullet hole in the USS Maddox. But they sunk a couple ships. Then other destroyers and battleships came to the scene, whatever. And supposedly there was more shooting and so on against the bad guys on August 3rd and August 4th, which even Robert McNamara, the Secretary of Defense at the time, later said, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I know.
And so did, I think it was Major General Giap, the main coordinator of the war against the United States for the defense of Vietnam. They call it a different war over there, by the way, the American, not the Vietnamese war.
Oh, no kidding.
So he said, no, there's nothing happened. And we created a false flag on that occasion that led to 58,000 some odd young American men and women. Some had already died in Vietnam right away. And I remember this date because I remember where I was. And this is not too dissimilar to the stuff in Vietnam. This is stupid, I know, but I do have these associations.
Stupid. It's just that I've lost control of the game show. Wink Martindale would never let this happen, where the contestant is asking him questions and dropping dates out of the blue.
Yeah.
Do you remember August 4th, 1964?
I was playing tennis. I wasn't playing the game show. You're right.
Wink Martindale would be aghast.
I was playing pickleball. I was hitting. Yeah, you're right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You were playing tennis where?
In front of a TV set. My dad was watching the TV set, not on the 3rd or 4th, about the 7th or so, several days later. And you were leading that way because that's when President got up in front of the country and told everybody that he was presenting to Congress the resolution to go to war. And it didn't him start shooting at that point. It passed Congress, and the resolution was passed, the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. So there was a kind of a precipitous bullshit event that happened that set it up, but then we did go to war. And I remember that because my older brothers were all military at the time. And here we wanted to go out and play. We're on vacation. We want to go to the pool, and the old man's watching TV. Like, hey, I got to watch this. And we're going, what? Why? Let's go jump in the pool on vacation.
Worried about his kids.
My one brother was, I don't know if all four were in the military that time or the youngest one was about to join. But I had a brother just barely getting out of the Air Force. He was still in the Air Force in 64. Older brother in the Army in 64, and an older brother that had just joined the United States Marines in 1964. So when Johnson got up and said this, and troops are going to go, he was very concerned. Obviously, the old man. Yeah. So on March 8th, 1965, 6 months later approximately, my brother, the Marine, landed with the Marines amphibiously at Da Nang in the first amphibious assault since World War II. He was among them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he stayed there for his 13 months and then 6 more months. So when he re-upped. And he was among the first combat Marines in Vietnam. So, this is kind of a day that still shivers me. Yeah. And so when I see, in answer to the long story about this volley, ships blown up in the middle of the ocean, and people actually cheering it on. I go, how fast do you forget, people?
No.
This isn't going to be easy to just walk in. And this is not about drugs. The same way that much of what was happening in Vietnam was not about the domino effect of communism.
No.
So, we've become inured of that there's a machoism going on led by a guy that just shouldn't be there. Hegseth he will be tried.
He may.
Whether he comes out, whether they find him guilty or not, I don't know. But there will be a trial. I can't accuse him of what I don't know, but I validate that he has said things on his tweets And in front of TV sets, it just should make Americans go, whoa, stop. We don't need the biggest aircraft carrier in the world to stop these little ships over here. Fishing vessels.
I mean, that's a great point about the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. I'm going to hold this against you that you dropped a date out of nowhere from me, and I didn't know the answer to that. Because
I know, wasn't it, the 365,
that
was an assholey move. You're right, I did. You're absolutely right.
It wasn't an assholey move. It was a chicken shit move, but the fact of the matter is, we eventually got to the point, which is a good point, and that is, the Constitution requires people to have read it and understand it and care about it. And guys like Hegseth and Trump don't care about it. And guys like Caroline Leavitt and Alma Haba and others, they don't know it. They pretend that they're lawyers and they make fools of themselves, and courts of appeals, find out that they were appointed improperly, and they don't know the difference between an indictment and the boogaloo, and then they go to court for all of this. What is really, it's just throwing shade at people with the power of the government behind it. And so the point that you make is really a good one. There are a lot of people who died in the Vietnam War, good men, and there are a lot of them that came back from that war, and women, wounded and broken, and families that lost children, that people our age, so it kind of resonates with us, that never had a child, that never really fell in love, that didn't get to see the things that you and I have been able to see over these past 50, 60 years. And it's a tragedy when that's done without just looking at what real men, guys who had fought, the guys that signed the Constitution of the United States, fought, most of them, in the Revolutionary War, and it was men. That isn't a put down to women. They understood the difference between sunshine soldiers, as Thomas Paine deemed them, and people that were really going to fight. And people like your brother and our buddies, Danny Brentel and Joe Miller and Howard, Kim Fitzgerald and Mike Hughes and the Midvale boys and all of these
boys,
people.
Rogie Scorzato,
and Rogie
Nicky
Scorzato
and my
you
cousin,
know, Mickey Watson and John and Jackie Watson, my cousins. They all went. My cousin Tom Cameron, and all of them went. Yep. They went because they felt it was their duty, and they believed that it was their duty because they were following what our leaders had done consistent with the law and the Constitution, and they lied about it. I read the book where McNamara came out and finally said he knew it was false. And I wanted to say, I'd like to find you and punch you right in the face. If you knew it was false, we talked about this with Jake Trapper. He knew stuff that he didn't report because he wanted to make money. You knew it was false and you didn't tell the American people. You were a general. You worked for great generals in World War II. They didn't lie to us. They didn't lie to the people then. And that's what we're left with.
What is now Jake Tapper is a big letdown to me. His career started in the alternative press. I don't think you know that. Bill might know it from David Carr at the Washington City Paper.
You told us that.
Now look at him. But so did Harris Faulkner on Fox. But what does it mean that what happened at Nuremberg? What's the legal precedent of
the legal precedent in Nuremberg is that following orders isn't a defense in most instances. If you know you're doing something wrong contrary to what we always see on TV, the Geneva Conventions, which is just an agreement among civilized countries that there are certain things you don't do, which are basically simple things.
Is it Mark Kelly? Is what he said rise Senator to that Kelly. Level? Senator Kelly doesn't rise to that level at all. He was merely repeating what was in the when he and the 6 senators or 6 politicians said, "Hey, you don't have to follow illegal orders." They weren't advocating that anything. Tell me about what you think.
No, they don't. He didn't say you don't have to. It says you can't follow legal orders based upon the Code of Military Conduct. You cannot follow. If your general says, "Go kill all of those people at My Lai," you got to say, "No, I can't do it." Okay, that's where that all started. American soldiers historically have been, and we've had our mistakes. They've been the people when they show up, and they've captured people. The enemy has happy they were captured by Americans. Why? Because we treat people with respect and dignity. We don't just take them out and shoot them. That is against military protocol in the United States and the Code of Military Justice, and it's against the manner in which civilized people fight wars. We shouldn't fight wars, okay? It happens. There are rules, and you abide by them. And a guy like Donald Trump, does he care about rules? No, he never has. And we're about at the end of this, but we wanted to make this a little bit lighthearted. But when you think about it, it can't be.
Well, let's take it back to that, though, because I did divert it. And
well, it's your fault.
It's my fault. I know.
Let's do the Greek word.
Come back to a couple more yes or no's, and then do that.
Okay, we're going to do one that is the Greek word of the day too. And I don't know.
Give me some yes and no's.
I don't know if I can let you ask a question.
I swear to God, I'm not going to.
Honestly,
I almost dropped the F-bomb there.
I had a new career coming up as a game show host. Okay, so did or did not Rick Riley take off on Donald Trump again over something he said about his golf championship?
Yes, but not as severely as he should have.
Okay, he did, in fact. When Donald Trump was giving his Thanksgiving speech to military people again.
This year?
This year.
He waited till 20 minutes till midnight to even bring it up.
And he went off on all of the 38 golf titles that he has won. Well, our friend, I'm giving him, he's close to the top of writers for me this year. Riley savaged him yet again. So you got that question.
Got one right.
Okay. One more question. Let me get to it here. And we can also get to the Greek word of the day.
Okay.
All right. And that is, I can't read.
You have the most. I think the word beautiful doesn't go far enough to describe your handwriting.
My handwriting is a bad one, but I think faster than I write. So, is the Palace Ballroom at, this is a two-part question, at 2000 Pennsylvania Avenue, is it right on budget like it was planned early?
No.
How far over budget has
Whatever it is from zero, because there was never a budget presented.
Excellent answer. Okay,
but that's okay, because he's Donald Trump and he can do no wrong. He's a great businessman and has spent his life in construction.
Okay, so
bless him.
That goes to the second part of the question. Is the Mexican government going to build the big, beautiful palace like they built the wall that encircles Mexico?
No,
he promised.
No, according to certain channels, he's screwing the local contractors this time. He's not letting the Mexicans pay for it. He's not paying the local guys.
Okay, so he's actually...
He's true to form.
He also said at the beginning, for those of you that don't know this, he said that he was going to pay for it out of his own pocket.
Well, now he's got the benefactors of the billionaire class media class that are doing that for him, and others. Ron, how does it happen that you can do that you can't do that kind of construction even in Midvale, Utah, or anywhere in the valley? Just take a hammer to something, break it down, and tear it down with no orders, no testing, no anything. He just did it, and I don't really happen to like that kind of rule.
I don't either, but government enforcement.
I'm not even talking about the East Room didn't need improving. I have no freaking idea on that.
Government enforcement requires people with balls enough to go in and enforce it, and they didn't do it. But we're going to get to our last question here because Bill is wondering what we're doing. And so this goes to the biggest story of all of October and November, and we're now in December, and it is
Aurora Borealis.
No.
Okay.
All right, true or false? All of the Epstein files have been released by Donald Trump's Attorney General.
No.
Okay.
No.
Then I'm going to give you, and this is not a true or false, but you've got to keep it short. Why haven't they been, since Congress, the House and the Senate, sent the bill to Donald Trump's desk, and he signed it, not in a big, glorious...
in his own handwriting.
And maybe with a auto pen, but in any event, why haven't they done that?
I believe they're waiting for the full redaction to take place so that when it finally comes out, we just get 25 or 100,000 sheets of blank paper. Wrong?
Wrong. Yeah, it is because they realize that the American press corps and the American public have the same attention span as a Labrador effing puppy, if you've ever had one. And so they've moved on to all the rest of the stuff that we've talked about today, and they've forgotten about it. And that brings us to, and we'll end with this, the word of the day
is
puppy in Greek.
Skilo is dog. So when you make a diminutive, a skilaki, like a little dog.
Okay. All right.
There must be okay. Skilo.
Skilo. Okay. In Latin, Catullus, which is interesting because the Latin poet known as Catullus used that as his name because he acted like such a puppy to the woman he was in love with. Okay. In Italian, cucciolo.
Cucciolo.
And that comes from cane, which is the word for dog. In Spanish, perito, pera, or perita. Okay. In French, and this is an interesting one, chouchou. Chien is the word for dog. I didn't know chouchou is the French word for puppy. In Croatian, the Croatian language is so strange. The word for puppy is štene. But the word for dog is pas.
It doesn't it makes
no sense to me at least. And
I'll give you one more. Here's one more.
Okay.
Ancient Greek.
Okay, what is it?
Kion, I believe is how you say it. Kion.
Kion?
Yeah.
Really?
Which
that would be puppy or dog?
Dog.
Oh, okay.
Which the word cynic comes from.
Oh, really? I love that.
So, where are you and I right now on the word scale of derivatives of that word? I think we kind of. I'm cynical. I'm a dog. I'm a puppy dog.
I don't think you're as cynical as you think you are.
You're right about that.
We couldn't. I mean, for those of you out there, and we just needed to lighten it up a little bit today. I'm not cynical. I'm heartbroken.
I think that's really it. And the cynical part of me isn't about him. The cynical part of me is, why do so many good people still stay aboard that ship? I can see it sinking. You can see it sinking. We're not idiots. And it's not a matter of like I'm trying to win one over. Every time I hear the argument, but Biden was worse, but Obama did it. It was Hillary. Over and over and over again, to the answer of every piece of miasma that we're in, it's beyond heartbreak to me, because I know that a good number of people that are still within MAGA Republican Party aren't terrible people. But somehow, it's like I said last time, there's an addiction, there's a rationale in their mind that they're validating. They won't let go despite all the evidence. And that's Orwell, right? And so,
all the good people that are out there, if their children or an employee or a fellow worker came up and they had done something stupid and said, oh, but the guy that did this before me did this too, or did worse, they would go, I don't care. I really don't care. You're the one in charge now. You take care of it. It's as simple as that. And one of the reasons that it saddens me is it isn't hard to understand that argument because it's the right argument, okay? So Biden did bad stuff. Then you got elected to do it right. Do it right.
That's
exactly where it ends. There's nothing around that. That is a rock solid piece of how we should live our lives, and we don't, or they don't.
Let's count. You got one more question. I know you do. You got one more.
I do have one more, and it is this, and I've actually got several more. I'm afraid to ask any now, but this is, I mean, really, I've never lost control like this. I never lost control of anybody on a witness stand like this.
I'm a terrible witness.
So, Kristi Noem is Homeland Security Secretary. Alma Habba was the United States District Attorney for New Jersey until she was just relieved of that job by the Court of Appeals. And we've got Caroline Leavitt, who is the spokesperson for Donald Trump. So if you look them up in Wikipedia, okay, does Wikipedia list their party affiliation? This is multiple choice. You got to listen to all of them. As their party of choice as Republican, Grey Goose, vodka, or Modelo.
That is funny. Okay, I'm glad.
What did they?
Well, what you've now done, there's going to be a new line of some liquor called Republican come out as a result of that.
I hope so, and I hope they give me credit.
Okay, let's
tie it up.
Let's count tweets and make America sleep again. Masa, I'm going to get the hat. Make America sleep
Make
again.
America sleep again. And poor Bill, he had to listen to all of this up front and has to edit it. God bless him. Thank you for the Private Eye. Thank you for the support of the Private Eye at the run on Saturday. And thank you, Bill, for all you do for us.
Yes. All
Peace
of that,
and love,
all
everybody.
Of that, all of that. And give.
Give today.